Let's have a very brief overview of the research methods that can be applied in the field of psychology of music. However, those research methods are also shared in different fields because the scientific way of inquiring for a research question is the same across different fields. There are different ways to categorize the research methods. I'm choosing a few: basic research versus applied research, quantitative versus qualitative, naturalistic observation versus experimental design, behavioral neuroimaging and electrophysiological research. We will explain different categories in the following slides. Basic research, this is the definition. I found various definitions from various sources to explain different research methods or different research approach, and this one is from NIH. Basic research is a systematic study directed toward greater knowledge or understanding of the fundamental aspects of phenomena and of observable facts without specific applications towards processes or products in mind. So again, basic research is not looking for specific answer or specific solution, and it's looking for getting the fundamental knowledge of the phenomenon. For example, in the brain science, it might try to answer how the cells talk to each other, and understanding this do not have a obvious direct application to our daily life, right? How is understanding brain cells can help me to my brain to function better, but that's not the goal of basic research. The basic research is about you can think about it as the curiosity of human mind. Like our mind is so curious, so we want to know how the things works. And another example, as the one I used in the class, would be perhaps to understand what genes can inherit the music skills to the next generation, right? And those are very fundamental science. And applied research sometimes is also called translational research. The definition here from the National Science Foundation is: applied research is original investigation undertaken in order to acquire new knowledge. It is, however, directed primarily towards a specific practical aim or objective. So applied research wants to answer specific questions, and a lot of clinical research, all the clinical studies actually are applied research. For example, the study I shared with you, music therapy's respiratory protocol on post-COVID respiratory symptoms, is to understand whether using the music therapy intervention, singing and respiratory playing wind instruments can improve or decrease the respiratory symptoms like shortness of breath. So it has a very specific question that the research wants to answer. And so that's that's basic and applied research. And Now let's look at the differences between quantitative and qualitative research. Here is the definition. Quantitative research is an objective, formal, systematic process in which numerical data are used to quantify or measure social phenomena and produce findings. So this is a definition for quantitative research in social science. The keywords here are, first is objective, so it's based on the phenomenon or let's say behaviors that can be observed, and it's use numbers, numerical data, right? It's either collecting numerical data like numbers directly or collecting data that can be transformed to number so we can run statistical analysis to understand the numerical differences. So usually the findings of quantitative research is whether a significant difference exists in the different groups. For example, let me use the study of post-COVID music therapy. Again, we collected data of shortness breath. We asked the participants to rate their shortness breath from 0 to 5 every day before, during, and after music therapy interventions. And then we calculated the numbers using a specific statistical method. And the finding was, yes, there is a difference, statistical difference, that this group who received music therapy every week, they actually decrease the symptom of shortness of breath after 3 weeks into the intervention. So that means that, playing the wind instruments and singing might do something to strengthen the lung function or to make the participants feel like their perceived shortness of breath became better. The qualitative research, you can simply think of quantitative research as the research that collecting numbers, and qualitative research as research that collecting, let's say, words, image, art materials that are subjective, and the research intends to convey in-depth understandings and convey meanings out of the qualitative data. Here is the definition. Qualitative research is the naturalistic study of social meaning and process using interviews, observations, and analysis of text and image. And again, I'm using the example I gave in the class. After you call, let's say, AT&T, talking to the representative, you might receive a survey, and the survey can be open-ending question, right? I might ask you, why did you call us, and what did you feel satisfied with? What did you feel we can improve, right? And those open-ending questions would be collecting qualitative data. So you can say whatever in your mind. You can say, I'm calling because the phone service is not very good in the Hudson Valley, so I hope you can improve that. So those subjective words are the qualitative data. Naturalistic observation. or experimental design. Okay, let's look at this study abstract again. So it says, the music-evoked autobiographical memories have typically been studied within laboratory experiments and clinical settings, often using experimentally selected music to cue autobiographical memories. So this means in the laboratory, right, the researchers, they can curate a list of music songs, and to provide to the participants then whatever the music evoked autobiographical memories are, they are all evoked by those specific songs and not by the participant's choice. So this present work took a more naturalistic approach by studying the situational aspects, content, and features of MEAMs within the course of participants' everyday lives. So my question to you is this a naturalistic observation? Is it an experimental design? What do you think? Okay, the previous study, it's using this measure to understand behaviors, right? So you can still call it a behavioral study. The electrophysiologic. So this first one is EEG, the electroencephalogram, and EEG is to, let's look at this picture on the bottom. They are playing the keyboard while wearing this EEG cap on the head, right? So those small, I don't know if you could see those small knots are the electrodes that are attached on the scope. And those electrodes collect the electrical activity in the brain. And the results of the analyzing the electrical activity will be, you can see this graph in the picture on the right. You need to look into the study to understand this, but this shows you, the graph shows the electrical activity in the brain and how it changed among two different conditions. So for here, the study is the rapid brain responses to familiar versus unfamiliar music, an EEG, and pupillometry study. And usually the study title tells you a lot of information, right? And this tries to understand how the brain's electrical activities are different between when someone listening to familiar music versus listening to unfamiliar music. And it's not only using the EEG data, it's also measure the size of the pupil. So that's the pupillometry. What's pupillometry means? The size of the pupil. So when you listen to the familiar music, does the size of your pupil suddenly enlarge or reduce, right? And the picture here is actually not from the study. I just want to show you when people do music, psychology music study, and they use EEG. So that's the photo is from the McGill University from a different study. So another type of electrophysiological research is the MAG, using the magnetoencephalography. And the machine, you have to have this huge machine that the individual put their head in the machine while receiving, let's say, different stimuli. And in this case, the research title is The Effects of Musical Experience on Different Components of MEG Responses Elicited by Sequential Piano Tones and Chords. So it's looking at very basic music elements, right? Like the sequential tones, it could be, let's say, C, D, E, just 3 tones, and chords will be like playing 3 notes synchronously, 3 C, E, G at the same time. And it's looking at when we are listening to those 2 different musical conditions, how's our brain's magnetic activities different from each other. And from the picture on the right, on the top right, that shows you, right, how the magnetic activities change across the time. And for doing this kind of study, either it's electrophysiological research or neuroimaging research, you need to receive a lot of training so you can, one, design and conduct the research, and then you can understand that language, you can analyze the either electrical signal or the magnetic signals, right? This is something you have to really go into and study. And they're also more costly. You need to have apply for research funding or work with someone in the lab that had those equipment to, again, conduct this research. And the third one is the neuroimaging study. There are many different kinds of neuroimaging study. I'm only introducing you one today is the functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI. And I don't know if you've ever done fMRI in the past. When I was in college, I was very interested in research, so I volunteered to be research participant for some neuroimaging studies. So I got to experience how fMRI felt like. And it's the machine can be a little loud, so sometimes the researcher will give you the earplug, and it's a little cold, temperature is low in the machine, and they would give you a blanket to make you feel cozy and comfortable. And so it's a very interesting experience. And the good thing about fMRI is that it's not intrusive. You don't have to receive any kind of injection. The machine itself, it can detect the changes in the oxygens in the blood flow in your brain. So when your brain, the certain parts of the neural activities increase, the oxygen level will increase as well. So the color will change in the brain image. And this study is a functional MRI study of happy and sad emotions in music with and without lyrics. So there are different conditions. Again, they are happy, they are music, there are songs, right? So there are songs, music with lyrics, and they are instrumental music that without lyrics. And the researcher looking at how those correlate with happy or sad emotions. And on the right hand side, you can see that the result, the brain image of different conditions, the main effect of lyrics and main effect of basic emotions. And again, you need specific training to be able to interpret, to understand, and to interpret those results. And now the brain imaging study are more and more advanced, but at the beginning it would be hard to interpret the result because we don't know much correlation, let's say, between when you are happy, which part of the brain is active, and when you are sad, what part is more deactive, right? So you have to know those correlations, and you have to know those like basic brain activities, how they function, before you interpret any results. All right, so that's all for today. And again, it's not intended to have you understand everything, but I just want you to if you knew those already, just to have a brief review. If you haven't learned about them in other classes, just want you to be exposed to what are out there. There are some basic research methods, and we'll continue to discuss them in our classes. All right.